Yep.
All right.
We're live.
We are. Okay. So welcome everybody. This is Business First Responders and it is Tuesday. And we are going to talk to one of our wonderful entrepreneurs right here in the area. And we are so happy that she's with us. And that is Denise Burkey. And of course, Jake, Jordan, and Jay Mamie are with me here. And we're going to cover a lot of other topics as well after she's being able to share her information with us. So welcome, Denise. We are so glad you're here. And she owns Vom Fass. And there's several locations, one in Plano, one in Frisco, and then out at the Frisco marketplace. So fresh market, I guess I should say. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what your store offers, and then we'll talk about COVID-19.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I am really excited about this opportunity to speak about Vom Fass and the passion that I have for our business. Vom Fass is German and it means from the barrel. So everything in here is from the barrel. I have extra virgin olive oils, balsamic vinegars that are made from the fruit. I have small batch whiskey, spirits like vodka, gin, rum, tequila, absinthe, and liqueurs from all over the world. So, and our store is the only store in the DFW area that has a taste before you buy. So you can taste anything before you buy it, except the wine. We don't taste the wine.
That's okay. I have been to the store. I have tasted the tequila and the whiskey and the brandy. And I've taken some home myself. So I can vouch for all of that.
You can give a testimony, right, Suzanne?
Yes, I can. I can certainly give a testimony that everything that I have bought, and I've bought the balsamic vinegars and I've bought all those too. I've brought all that home. So I am one of her customers. So that's one of the reasons why I know Denise really well. But I know that you face some, we've talked about this and you faced some COVID challenges. So Jay's going to ask you a quick question about why you made the pivot to get into the business in the first place before any of this took place. And then we'll talk about COVID.
Okay.
So Denise, by the way, the fact that you just mentioned that you have these barreled goods, that's one of the reasons I know me and my wife will come visit, because she's big on anything that's fresh and preserved well, and balsamic vinegar is definitely one of them. She's a chef, so she's always looking for quality ingredients. So we'll come hang out and do a little taste testing too.
Yes. Good.
So I'm very curious, because before we started the podcast, one of the things that you and I were chatting about was the fact that you've been now in this business for about 3 years. But prior to that, you were in banking for a long time, and you and your husband decided at one point, whether out of exploration or frustration or a search of liberation, you decided to pursue something that was out of your comfort zone, right? I mean, most people who are in an employee mindset for so long, they're entrenched in that employee mindset. The wiring has been soldered for many, many years in that thought pattern. They don't have the courage to get up and become an employer because they're used to being an employee. So I think there's a lot of people today that are probably frustrated at work, wherever they work. They're frustrated in their career. They would love to do something different, but lack the courage and the faith to do that. You did it. You're hanging in there 3 years later. Your business is exploding, and even in the midst of a crisis. So I think that people would like to know what happened on the inside, not only academically in your mind and in the logistics of it, but in your heart, that you and your husband said, we're going to go for it.
That was a really good question. What happened was, we have one son, and he was in the hotel industry, and he was putting in a lot of hours and getting really burnt out. And he said, I think I want to come home. And just like all parents do, when you have a grown child that says that, you go, oh my gosh, no. And then you say, oh yeah, I meant yes, come home. So we decided that we should maybe look into doing some kind of family business. My husband still keeps his job. My son and I band together and open the store. Now, my husband is very hands-on, so he also has been an integral part of this. But we just after looking at several different opportunities, we decided that Vom Fass was going to be what we chose to market in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we did sign a 6-store deal for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have 2 stores currently. And really, it really was a leap of faith because we had never owned our own business before. So we just decided in our hearts that this is where we wanted to be passionate, and we wanted to be, this is going to be ours, and we were going to make it. We were going to do whatever it took to make it because we didn't want to be a statistic. Now, I know that that's a huge leap of faith, and we opened 2 stores within 29 days of each other. So we jumped in with both feet. It has not been easy. It's been hard, but every hardship that we've overcome has made us stronger and better.
You know, you say you jumped in 2 feet and you opened up the 2 stores within 29 days. That's an amazing. You didn't jump in with 2 feet. You jumped in with your feet and the neighbor's feet.
I know.
With feet in the neighborhood right now. There's people walking around missing feet.
Right?
But that's very, very
They
bold.
opened up the farmers market as well. So that's also been really one of your, what caused you guys to think about the farmers market?
That came about because we have no help from corporate as far as marketing our business. And we found that, you know, we did some print marketing, we did some mailers, but when people don't know what that word Vom Fass is, it goes in the trash because we don't know what it is. We don't take the time to read it. It's not familiar to us. The logo doesn't tell me what it is. So we kind of wasted a lot of money on that before we figured out, you know what, that's not working. We got to think, we have to think outside the box. We got to figure out what are we going to do. And we decided that maybe being at a farmer's market, that we weren't thinking that we would have a lot of sales. We were kind of just thinking more that it was going to be more brand awareness, that we could push people to the store that's on the border of Frisco and Plano. And that's exactly what happened, except for the sales exploded out there. It's been brand awareness and it's been sales. We've done very well out there.
I'm going to say that one's being out there at farmers market does better than one of the stores, doesn't it? For the most part.
Depends. You know, farmers market is obviously very, I mean, it's open year round, but the sales are seasonal. Whereas the stores are the stores are seasonal as well, but kind of offset from the farmers market.
So seasonal sales is something that you have to deal with on a normal basis. You're now in a different season, if you will, a new season none of us were expecting.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So tell us about this season. What are you doing for sales and what's come up on all of us here?
So when COVID hit, we had obviously both stores and the farmers market open. The farmers market closed. The 121 in Preston store is surrounded by restaurants. And so basically when they all shut down, there was no traffic at the 121 store. So we actually closed that store down for 54 days and just reopened it yesterday. The Park in Preston store is in a retail center with Trader Joe's. And we're about 3 doors south of Trader Joe's. And sales were pretty slow to begin with. And then something happened. And that something was Trader Joe's moved their line of people that were waiting outside the store from one side to another. And when they moved it to the other side, those people were then lining up in front of our store. So we actually got a huge benefit from that because there again, brand awareness, you're forcing people to look in my store because they're standing there doing nothing anyway. And then we propped the door open and we put a sandwich board outside and we said how we would appreciate your help and supporting a small business. And it was amazing. The last 2 months have brought in probably, well, we're ahead of where we were last year at that store during this time. And it's during a crisis.
Wow. Man, you know what they say about real estate, right?
Yeah,
Location,
exactly.
location.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Well, and that's what happened when I came by that day. They were all lined up in front. I'm like, oh my God, just go in there. She has everything you're looking for. Just go in there. Tell people to get out of line.
Exactly.
I thought
Cool.
that
So
was great.
when you had this influx of stuff come in, you know, you obviously you were a little overwhelmed probably because you were like, wow, you didn't expect them to switch the line.
Right.
Or did you? Is that something that you talked to them about, or did they just decide it was a better route?
Well, why they did it is because their entrance door is on the side that we're on. So they were having people line up, but it was crossing where the exit door was, and it was causing some confusion with people and 6 feet apart and all of that. So they switched it, but we had actually, right before they switched it, we'd actually thought about talking to them and asking them to move that line, but we didn't have to because it fixed itself.
Mm.
Perfect. So how are you planning on moving forward then? Now with this, I mean, clearly you've got some good stuff going on, but we're all in a place where we're trying to figure out, you know, you're trying to scale still. You're 3, right? So you're
Yeah.
still trying to scale. What's the next 6 months look like for you guys? Have you any thoughts on that yet?
You know, it's kind of funny because we think we do, because, you know, we're kind of taking it one day, a couple days at a time, and there's no predictability. There never has been in retail, but at least we could go, well, last year at this time, you know, the weather was warmer or whatever, but there's nothing now. There's no end of school year. There's no teacher appreciation gifts. There's nothing that we can grab from before. So we're really just taking things one day at a time. And I can tell you that we opened this 121 store back up yesterday, like I said. I've been very surprised at the number of people that have come in to welcome us back and, you know, mention that they're glad that we're back open again. So we are just taking things one day at a time. I know with the restaurants being able to open back up to 50% on Friday is going to make a big difference over here in the amount of traffic.
Yeah. Now you've had some difficulties keeping and employees and getting employees to come back. And we talked about that last week, which you didn't see that show, but we talked about having the difficulty, and a lot of the stores are getting their employees to come back. Are you being able to overcome that?
You know, we've hired 2 new family members that are going to be with us. I mean, they're not direct family members. We just call our staff our family members.
Mm-hmm.
And those 2 ladies are going to be part-time with us because we don't have full-time. And one of the other ladies that we had that has a full-time job and works with us part-time, she also is coming back. We seem to have more issues prior to all of this finding help and keeping help than we do now. I haven't run across a lot of issues that other people have had that, you know, say, well, people are making more on unemployment than they are coming back to work. My positions are all part-time, and most of these people have a full-time job or are only looking for part-time. So I really haven't had those issues yet.
Good.
So, yeah.
Well, that's good. That part's good. Excellent. Okay. Would you like to tell us anything about specials you got going on? Or obviously we want to know about your locations. So we will definitely put that in the feed for Facebook so that they can find you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're at Park and Preston next to Trader Joe's. And then you're next to Lazy Dog off of Preston and 121.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay.
You can find us there. Right now, we are running some refill specials this week. You can bring your bottles in and If the bottle is 250 milliliters or less, you'll get a 15% discount on your refill. If it's 500 milliliters or higher, you'll get a 25% discount on the refills. We also are running our pasta special where you buy 3 pastas for $27 or 5 pastas for $45.
Their pastas are like to die for, you guys. Yes. You will never buy them in a grocery store again after you buy Denise's.
And it's
Now,
funny
Denise,
because during COVID, you know, the grocery stores ran out of pasta.
Yeah.
So when people are in line for Trader Joe's and they saw all of the pasta, that was another thing that brought them in.
That's right.
Now, Denise, do you cater as well?
No, I don't cook.
Hence another great leap of faith into food.
Oh my
Don't
gosh.
tell my husband. We might end up catering. No, we don't have a commercial kitchen.
Okay.
We do offer private tasting events where we do make some finger foods that don't require heating or cooking or anything like that.
In your location, can someone use your location for an event? You mentioned taste testing, so that would be great for people to know that they can have a small gathering, you know, when the time is right.
Exactly.
Just like a lot of these other wine and liquor locations, they have taste testing capabilities and little small banquet meeting rooms. Do you have that available in your location as well?
What we have available is you can do a private event with us where we will actually close the store. And like I said, we'll do the 4 or 5 little appetizers where it's not dinner or anything. It's just to try and show people how easy it is to make things with our products.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Great for a bachelorette party or, anything like that, or before you're going to your birthday party, definitely. And I can say that Two Brothers Tequila, you want to taste that one. That's the one I like the best.
I know, it is pretty good.
I know. Yes. And, I couldn't work there. I told her I couldn't work there because I'd have to test everything every day,
Well, I mean, that's part of my job.
What? That's right.
You look for some part-time work, Suzanne?
It really wasn't, but
Yeah, Suzanne wants to be the official taste tester.
if I can be the taste
Right?
tester, I may be
About
there a
5
whole lot
o'clock.
more.
She's
Come in
pivoting.
for an hour.
See, here's another example of pivoting. She's pivoting. So Denise, what is your website, and can you spell the name of the company again?
The website I would prefer you to use is our Facebook page because our website is actually run by corporate. So if you ordered anything from there, I would not get credit for that. So our Facebook page is Vom Fass Village 121 or Vom Fass Park and Preston. And it's spelled V as in Victory, O, M as in Mary, F as in Frank, A, S, S.
Vom Fass.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
From the
Very good.
barrel. Excellent. Well, we are so happy you came on today, and we hope it brings you a few more customers. And of
Okay.
course, I think you've gotten a few more anyway, because I know Jay and his wife are coming on in.
We're coming.
So there you go. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. I appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Okay, you guys, we're going to talk about a few things that we had going on that we talked about on our feed before we got over here. I mentioned that I wanted to talk about compassionate capitalism. That was on several of the podcasts that I was listening to this week, and that's apparently going to be a really big push for a lot of medium-sized businesses for sure. Small, not as much, just because they're like Denise, they're operating with family, and so they already have a percentage of ownership because they're a part of the family. But with medium-sized businesses, if they'll bring it back down to where it's employee owned or employee stock is what they're giving, then it helps move more of the willingness for their employees to, number one, stick around. Number two, have a pride of ownership, basically. It's just like if you owned a house, it's the same type of concept, but only now it's about the business. So now they're going to work, instead of having the trickle down effect that we've lived with for years and years, Now they're going to have it where it moves on its way from the bottom up. So that has been the focus that they're having in a lot of the B2B groups and the C Corp groups that I am in. They are really pushing that concept with those guys. And I think you're going to see a lot of CEOs that are going to see taking some cuts in pay. You're going to see quite a few of the executive group now become not so many of them, a lot less, so that they move back down into the middle of the group so that they're part of the employee ranks. So I am, like I said, I've listened to quite a few talk about this now, and I think that that is what you're going to see coming because of this shift. And I want to hear what you guys think about this, but I think the brand is going to change because that's going to have to make a shift with those types of companies.
You know, it's funny you mention that because yesterday I was on the phone for an hour with one of my colleagues in New York. And one of the things we were talking about was actually her husband, who owns a string of in New York. There's supermarkets that are chain supermarkets. They start off with just it's family owned, and then they branch out, and then they bring in people that are not family. And one of the things that I was chatting with her about was exactly this, that it's one thing to be the boss or the CEO of the president, and then you have everyone else who are the employees. But there's so much to be said about when everyone has a sense of skin in the game, and what's the sense of equity. Now, it may not be a lot of equity because they didn't put the time and sweat to, but a little fair share of equity shows from the employer standpoint, the CEO standpoint, the president, that I'm involved in your well-being. And I think that if more CEOs can understand that their employees are not only aware of their CEO, but they're looking at how the CEO treats them in return. And there's nothing that a person feels more special than when they feel that another person cares about them, and they care about their well-being, and they're recognized, they're given a measure of praise. And quite frankly, the only way to do that, you can do that with words, but actions speak louder than words.
Right.
So I think this compassion movement is key, and you'll get a lot more performance from people. You'll get a lot more loyalty from people. The turnover is going to be a lot less, and those that hang in there are going to give it all they've got, because there's this emotional tie now, because they really do sense that you care.
Right.
I think that's something that's going to bear fruit. We won't really know the results of that for a little bit of time, but it's smart for these, especially in the small business community, to do that. It's tough if you are the CEO and you're running 1,000 employees. It's tough, right? Because you've got different layers of management. But when you've got that company that's 30, 40, 50, 60, people know who you are. Right? They know who you are. So I think for them, it's more critical than the big wigs at the big firms, who most people don't even expect ever to see anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And I saw yesterday or the day before that the CEO of Twitter, for example, was going to let everyone work from home from now on who wanted to. And that's one of those big, massive companies, right? And maybe they do that more for shareholder value so that stock looks good, right? But I was actually posted something on my Instagram yesterday that modeling is the absolute best way to change anything around you. Model the behavior you want, because teachers model things for students, parents model things for kids, sports like figures like athletes model the right behavior to their other fellow athletes and gain energy. And so modeling is absolutely the best way moving forward for businesses to do it too. And one of the people that I'm connected in with heavily is an agency over in Fort Worth, Quirk Agency. And this is how he runs his business too. And he gives interest of some sort or equity of some sort for the way that they help the company grow. It's part of their model for getting paid. And it's one of the reasons I like working with him so much, because he values people. And he knows that each person has their own skill set to bring. And when you're rewarded, like Jay said, even if it's just a little bit, there's just that buy-in that you have that you can't explain. It doesn't match the dollar amount. It's just, there's an unequal in the favor of the company amount of favor that you gain just by letting people buy in. So I love the idea. I think I would love to see more big corporate people do it, so that these other, mid and small businesses would see it and go, you know what, we have a lot better capability to do that than they do. We should follow. We should match suit somehow. Maybe not exactly what they do, but cultures. That's one of the big things I think is we're going to see changing moving forward. Is I think there will be shift in culture, because there's a lot of people, particularly in the millennial group, that went and saw what their parents did and said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to work 40 years for somebody. So they have a completely different mentality about work, and they care about culture first over paychecks, a lot of them.
Well, and that's the caveat that these guys were talking about. They said the caveat number one was you have to and must establish your company culture and stick with it. Whatever it is you've decided on, that's what you have to stick with. And then you have to have employee buy-in. So, just because, let's say Jay decided, well, we're going to do it this way, but if nobody else is going to buy off on that, then it didn't matter that you decided you're going to do it that way, or that you're all going to act one way versus another. So that was one of the big things. And then number two, it brought the pride of ownership into play. And then they also figured that it was going to save a lot of money with company recruiting and hiring, because then they would have retention, so that once they've bought in, before anyone that comes in, they buy into whatever the company culture is, or they don't get to come. That's it. They're no longer, they will not even be considered for employment. And then after they buy in, then they have employee retention, and that betters the company itself in every aspect. And it also helps with risk management, so that you have a lot less in fraud and theft and all of those other things that you also have to attribute, that go against your bottom line. Now that you have people that have an ownership in it, if somebody's walking out the door with something, another guy goes, hey, wait a minute, that takes away from the money that we get to make. Put that back, or whatever it is that changes what's going on for the company. So I think you're going to see a lot of that happening, and thank God, because I think it's about time.
Yeah, and I think it matches on just, we're talking to small business owners, right? Is keep your current customers happy. It costs way more to go get new customers than it does to keep your current ones coming back. So it works there too. When you have a great culture inside, you treat people great outside, like the whole Southwest model. Love your employees love your customers, and they stick around, and you don't have to spend so much money and time on finding new customers.
I agree.
I think one of the things that business owners and upper management folks don't recognize and don't realize is human beings are loyally bred. We are loyal. There's loyalty in our DNA. Most people are loyal. Now you've got your sliver of people that aren't loyal to anyone but themselves.
Right.
But we are wired for loyalty. We're wired for longevity and commitment. And everybody has a sign on their chest that says, make me feel special, recognize me, encourage me, praise me, let me know when I did something well. We've all got that sign on our chest that says all of those things. And when we're given that praise and that recognition and that awareness of you're special and you matter to us, boy, we give loyalty 10x. We 10x loyalty, we 10x performance, and we will go to the death for that person, because they made us feel special. They validated us as human beings. And I think if more CEOs and more business owners recognize that that's how we are wired to be loyal, and all we need is a little pat on the back to keep us even more engaged, they'll do that way more. And exactly what you guys said, performance, retention, all of that will go through the roof. Small changes, just understanding how people are and where they live matters.
I agree. What can we do in the social aspect of it, Jake? What do you think?
Social media or just social?
I think you're going to have to promote it as well. Not just, let's talk about it. I think it needs to be promoted. And I think everybody besides your customers that need to know that. I think that your employees need to know. And then I think it needs to be kind of a group. Everybody talk, hey, we're going to have a meeting and everybody gets to pitch in their ideas. And here's what we're going to come up with is committees even,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think modeling, I think that's what social media is really good for is being social. And so to a couple things that I've, particularly with bigger kind of mid-sized businesses that I found was really helpful a lot of times was when they had buy-in from the people and good culture, right? And had people
Mhm.
bought in. They weren't afraid to let them go out on social media and represent the company on their own individual personal accounts. It's the companies that don't have a good culture that are afraid what's going to happen if, you know, VPX or director so-and-so gets on social media,
Right.
you know, they're going to ruin the brand of the whole thing, the whole corporate organization. Well, that's a problem. That means you have a problem with hiring. That means you have a problem with training. That means you have a problem with buy-in. That's not a problem with social media. So I think by showing buy-in internally and then giving them, empowering them to go out and represent the company on their own social media, they're the best salespeople for organizations. That's like all the big ones that you see doing it well
Mhm.
have bought in people who are going out on their own without being asked, encouraged maybe, but they're going out and talking about their organization because they love it and they know that they have something that they can offer. So modeling, it's getting out there and doing it well and giving people permission to speak.
I think the other part is to maybe whoever is at the top needs to be human. You
Hmm.
know, too many times have I been around companies where whoever that is, it walks by, you know, whoever's the president or whatever. Oh, there's so and so. We better go.
Mhm.
And they're afraid. I'm like, they just need to be human so that
Mhm.
everybody can know that who he is. And I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to know who your employees are.
Probably not a bad idea that some of them keep their mouth shut because there's some pretty cranky old CEOs that probably don't need to be on Facebook.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that I, just to tie in, Suzanne, what you said, and Jake, what you said, recently, and I won't name the company, but it's a pretty big chain company, retail stuff, that very popular around here. My wife goes to one of those locations. Well, the CEO or the president, he refused to let people go home or work from home or close their stores, and everybody else was shutting down for the concern. This is going way back 6-7 weeks ago when we were at a height of a concern, or the beginning of that concern. He didn't. He didn't want to shut down. Didn't want to let people go. People still had to show up to work. He gave some wacky reason as to why he was going to stay vigilant and keep the stores open. And boy, I tell you, the employees went to social media, and because no one knew about it until the employees went on there and started to talk about, look what our guy's doing, and we work here, and this guy, this, that, and the other. And the backlash was horrific.
Oh,
So
wow.
big time. So even my wife said, and she shops there, she says, if that's the way the owner is and that's how he treats his people, this careless, this lack of concern for the well-being of the people that work in his store, shows a lot about the person himself. My wife said, I don't need to shop there anymore. And she
That's right.
decided at that moment in time, and she shopped there all the time. She says, I'm not shopping there. So it's so important. Jake, like, modeling is key, but you can have sort of like almost like a negative modeling that can go online, and now you've got to regain the trust and the credibility back in the marketplace, and not because of your products, but the way you treated your people. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
very
Yep.
important.
And we don't live in an echo chamber anymore. Social media is way too far gone for that. So if you're not treating your customers well, if you're not treating your employees well, it's going to get out. It's going to get out quick.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
So,
All right,
guys,
well,
I want to just let's start. I love the idea of highlighting a business. And we've got some more great ones coming up. If you're watching the show today, I want you to know that we're lining up great, innovative, creative business owners that, just like Denise, who was here earlier, brings value in just the fact that did a career change, took a leap of faith, and started her own business, and she's finding ways to survive and thrive. And by the way, I've always said that success always seeks the prepared mind. Success will always seek the prepared mind. The reason why those folks that were supposed to line up on Trader Joe's ended up lining up in her way, because success was seeking someone to visit and to take residency with. And all of a sudden, she found a line of people standing outside her door and has turned her business around. We're going to continue to highlight people like that. So I know Suzanne has got some people lined up to speak. I've got a guy lined up to speak from the New York area, but he's going national with what he's doing. He's a
great.
very creative engineer, guy who's re-engineered his business because of COVID, especially how tough it is in New York. So we've got some great people lined up, and I'm excited about that, guys.
Excellent. Me too. Well, I am really glad that we were able to have her on, and that you had thought you were going to have one of you guys was going to have somebody, and they couldn't do it. It was you, Jake, right? And they have to go.
Yeah, he's
next
too
week
busy.
instead.
He's giving tours
Well,
today.
hey,
So,
that's really good though. We don't have a problem with that at all.
that's right.
But I was able to get a hold of Denise as soon as you guys told me that, and she said, "Oh, I would love to jump on." So that was how we were able to get her. So we are so glad that you guys were able to listen to us today, and we hope we covered some information that would be of value and give you some reason to think about how you're doing things or how you would like to change whatever you're doing, and that you know what, there is faith that things are going to work out. There is positive capabilities in all of us. And whatever we can do to support you, we certainly want to. Please respond to us. Please let us know if you'd like to see something in particular or discuss something in particular. We will definitely cover the topic. And if you would like to be on the show so we can focus on your business, we would love to have you as well. That's what this is about, Business First Responders. It's not about Jake, Jay, and me. It's about all of you guys out there. So thank you so much and I appreciate it, guys. As
All right, we'll see you.
always, you're the best.
Bye.